Welcome back to 5 Minute History, the weekly series where patrons choose the topic then laugh at me as I struggle to keep within 5 minutes and inevitably fail. This one was chosen by Lodged Alloy. Operation Jaywick. Operation Jaywick is one of those little moments of the Second World War that you often read at the bottom of a chapter or see as a niche YouTube video on an F-list internet microhistory level of fame channel. Hi. But in reality, it is an important story, and one that is filled with intrigue, high risk, and just pure insanity, to be honest. The thought that this would work was pure insanity, and the fact it did makes it even more insane. In March 1942, not long after Australia declared war in Japan following the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Special Operations Australia Group was established as a joint Allied intelligence organisation, operating under the cover name of an Inter-Allied Services Department. It included several British Special Operations executives, officers who had escaped from the Japanese-controlled Singapore. Based in Melbourne, the organisation later formed a commando unit known as the Z Special Unit, which has commonly been shortened to as Z Force, and this is composed mainly of Australian personnel from the Army and the Royal Australian Navy. In 1943, Captain Ivan Lyon, a 28-year-old British officer from the Gordon Highlanders and the Allied Intelligence Bureau, joined forces with Bill Reynolds, a 61-year-old Australian civilian, to devise a plan to attack Japanese shipping in Singapore Harbour. Their strategy involved travelling as disguised local fishermen and using collapsible canoes to attach limpet mines to enemy vessels. Training for the mission was organised by Major Lyon and Captain Davidson at Camp X, on a secluded site on the Hawkesbury River, New South Wales. Suitable boats were difficult to obtain though, and only 2 collapsible boats were found. These were purchased directly from the builder, Walter Hearn, and to fill the gap a single rigid wooden canoe was also built by trainees at Camp X under Davidson's supervision. To get to Singapore, Reynolds chose the 21.3 metre craft, a former Japanese fishing vessel, the Kofuku Maru, previously used to evacuate refugees from Singapore. Lyon arranged for it to be shipped from India to Australia, where it was renamed the Crate after a small but deadly snake. In mid-1943, Crate would set off from Broken Bay in New South Wales to Thursday Island, carrying 14 men from Z Special Unit. Given their achievement and the fact they are often forgotten today, I want to list them all out by name. Major Ivan Lyon, Mission Commander, Lieutenant Hubert Cass, Crate's Captain, Lieutenant Donald Montague Noel Davidson, Lieutenant Robert Charles Page, Corporal Andrew Anthony Crilly, Corporal Ronald George Taffy Morris, Leading Seaman Kevin Patrick Kane, Leading Stoker James Patrick McDowell, Leading Telegraphist Horace Stewart Young, Able Seaman Walter Gordon Falls, Able Seaman Mostyn Berryman, Able Seaman Frederick Walter Loter Marsh, Able Seaman Arthur Walter Jones, and Able Seaman William George Hudson. After refuelling and repairs at Exmouth in Western Australia, Crate departed on the 2nd of September 1943 for Singapore. To maintain their disguise, the men stained their skin to appear more Asiatic and disposed of waste carefully to avoid suspicion. The voyage itself was not without any danger, and Crate suffered a broken propeller shaft that required help from a nearby American submarine to fix. Not long after the incident with her prop, the boat nearly sank in a violent storm. After 22 days though, on the 24th of September, the Crate arrived in Singapore. 6 men then paddled 50 kilometres in small collapsible boats to an island nearby the harbour, establishing a hidden base in a cave. On the night of the 25th of September 1943, they paddled into the harbour and attached limpet mines to several Japanese ships. The explosions occurred early on the 26th of September, reportedly sinking or damaging 7 vessels. After waiting for the search and reprisals to subside, the team rejoined Crate and began their journey home. On the 19th of October, they safely reached Exmouth Gulf, having evaded enemy patrols, including a close encounter with the Japanese minesweeper WA-102. The attack absolutely shocked Japanese authorities in Singapore, who could not believe such a raid had originated from Australia. They instead blamed local saboteurs, particularly pro-communist Chinese guerrillas, and began mass arrests, tortures, and executions. In later years, some have questioned whether or not Operation Jaywick's limited strategic impact justified the severe civilian reprisals that followed, and that is a fair argument. But what cannot be denied is that the attack absolutely shook the Japanese authorities and reminded them that nowhere was safe. The Allies did not publicly claim responsibility though, likely to preserve the secrecy of Crate for future missions. Subsequent research into Japanese records intercepting communications indicate that 6 ships were definitely sunk or damaged. The Shoshin Maru, a 5,698-ton tanker, the Nishin Maru, a cargo steamer, another unknown ship, Arare Maru, Hakusan Maru, Nasuan Maru, and Kizan Maru, each ship weighing between 2,700 to 5,000 or so tons, and yes, I'm aware my Japanese pronunciation is terrible. But that is the story of the crate, and the men of Jaywick. The operation was attempted again under the codename of Operation Ramau, using a junk, but sadly the men were caught. Of the 23 commandos, including Lion on Ramau, 10 were executed outright, and the other 13 died in custody or killed through torture. What makes this operation particularly incredible is that against all odds the crate still exists, completely restored as part of the Australian Maritime Museum in Sydney. These days though, you can't board the crate. That is an honour given only to members of 2 Commando, the successor in the modern era of this old Z Special unit, who are based at Holsworthy Barracks not far from the crate. But even then, just seeing the boat up close is worth it if you get the chance. Thank you all for joining me for another 5-minute-ish episode. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time.